Welcome! Welcome to part one of a 7-part video series on the practice. The practice. The practice is outlined by the Recovery Dharma book. This is going to be a series of videos outlining the practice as outlined in the Recovery Dharma book. If you don't have a copy of the book, get a copy of the book. There will be a link to a free PDF copy of the Recovery Dharma book in the description. But in this video, we're going to talk about the first of the 7 elements of a Buddhist practice, renunciation. That's right. So without further ado, let's get to part 1, renunciation. Renunciation. We'll begin each of these videos by just reading out the principle in full from the Recovery Dharma text, which is found on page XV of the 2nd edition. Renunciation. We understand addiction to describe the overwhelming craving and compulsive use of substances or behaviors to escape present-time reality, either by clinging to pleasure or running from pain. We commit to the intention of abstinence from alcohol and other addictive substances. For those of us recovering from process addictions, particularly those for which complete abstinence is not possible, we also identify and commit to wise boundaries around our harmful behaviors, preferably with the help of a mentor or therapeutic professional. Yeah, so we're talking about renunciation today. Quit, stop, put the drink down, put the drug down, acknowledge the harmfulness of whatever your unskillful, unwise, harmful behavior is. The whole essence of a Buddhist practice is to live more skillfully, live more wisely. And in this quick start guide, the other 6 principles of the practice don't really amount to much if you're not willing to renunciate. I've known plenty of people who love to show up to our meetings, love meditation, enjoy Sangha, enjoy support, but for whatever reason, they're not able to renunciate. They're not able to put down the drink, the drug, the harmful behaviors. And for whatever reason, they don't have a desire to do so. A big part of a Buddhist recovery process and a Buddhist practice is to say, you know what, let's identify these things. Let's acknowledge them. Let's take ownership of them. Let's take ownership of the things that are harmful, unhealthy, damaging behaviors, and then set them aside, acknowledging them, and then take these healthy, beneficial, good or skillful behaviors and embrace them and embrace a wiser way of living. Much of a Buddhist practice, when I describe it to those unfamiliar with it, if you want to boil it down to 3 elements, is mindfulness, compassion, wise living. And much of compassion and wise living is that we do abstain from drugs, alcohol, and harmful behaviors. So if you haven't done so, I encourage you to take some time, do some journaling, and reflect to yourself what brings you to this video, what brings you to Recovery Dharma, what brings you to recovery. Maybe you're on a winning streak. Maybe life's great for you. Maybe you just went to rehab because it was fun and you just need some time off work. Maybe you don't have a problem with drugs, alcohol, and harmful behaviors, and your friends and family are just worried about you needlessly. If that's the case, awesome, fantastic. Wasn't the case for me. For myself, I at some point had to get real. I have 15 plus years of lived experience in recovery communities of all type. And for me personally, at a certain point, I had to really embrace the concept of renunciation at a deeper level. I like the fact that there's a quote from Joseph Goldstein, who's a well-known Buddhist teacher and is credited, one of the main practitioners who is credited to bring what's referred to as Vipassana or insight or mindfulness practice to Western culture, I guess that's the thing. Anyways, Joseph Goldstein from the Insight Meditation Society, a wonderful Buddhist practitioner, when he talks about the concept of renunciation, not so much from an addiction perspective, but just renunciation as a practice as a whole from a Buddhist perspective, it's not about giving anything up. It's about living a much richer, much fuller life by embracing only the things that do matter, as far as, setting aside the drugs, the alcohol, the harmful behaviors, and saying, you know what, let's look at the things that truly make us happy, the things that really give our life meaning, and embrace those things. Let's choose a wiser, more skillful way of living ultimately. But to tie this video up before we get onto the second principle, and I want these to be short, to the point videos, is to say that for me personally, in my experience, at a certain point, I just had to get real. I had to get real about the fact of my issues with alcohol, my issues with certain harmful behaviors, and at a certain point, I had to say to myself, you know what? I want to renunciate this stuff. I want to give this stuff up. From a 12-step perspective, it's very similar to the concept of saying that we admitted that we are powerless over alcohol or whatever your drug of choice is, and that our lives have become unmanageable. I originally was a 12-step enthusiast. I still am a supporter of 12-step recovery programs as far as the steps themselves, but this is not a 12-step video. But I will say the advice and the recommendation from an addiction standpoint of admitting that our physiological response to certain substances, that we are powerless over the reward systems of our brain, that makes sense to me. That makes perfect sense to me. I would also say that in addiction, and especially in recovery, a wonderful, wonderful first step of recovery is just admitting that our lives have become unmanageable, because that's a cornerstone of recovery, is just to say, hey, what is addiction? Addiction is continuing to do a harmful, hurtful, negative behavior that has negative consequences, regardless of said negative consequences. That's a fair assessment to say life's unmanageable. Now, we don't need to get into all the details today, but I know for myself in my active addiction, in the throes of addiction back in the day, my life certainly was unmanageable. And for me, one of the best decisions I've ever made in my personal life is to make the renunciation of drugs, alcohol, and just harmful behaviors. And the cool thing about Recovery Dharma is that as we get deeper into the program and deeper into a Buddhist practice, when we start to really observe those harmful behaviors and what is and isn't addictive behavior, and what is it that we're unwilling to let go of, I think that's where a lot of the healing happens. So all of that's for a much deeper, more in-depth conversation later. But if you're new to Recovery Dharma, if you're new to the practice, renunciation is the first of the 7 principles, because without renunciating drugs, alcohol, and harmful behaviors, the other 6 are kind of pointless. So I would encourage you, as an exercise after this video, make a list of reasons as to why you want to renunciate. Make a list of reasons of why are you watching this video? Why are you here? Why are you in recovery? What motivates you today? Maybe you're new to Buddhist recovery, but you're not new to recovery. Well, what motivates you today? What's your driving force? So when we say renunciation, it's very much about stop, quit. We have to stop minimizing, justifying, or rationalizing our bad behaviors, and we have to get real. We have to take ownership of them. And ultimately, we have to embrace this concept that recovery is possible, change is possible, and that this is a path to end the suffering of addiction. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you have found it helpful or beneficial at all, I hate to do this, but if you could hit the like and or subscribe button, it helps the algorithm and it helps other addicts find this video. This is just how Google works. If you liked the video, cool. It gives me some feedback. If you didn't like the video, hit the like button anyways, because it's a nice thing to do. And yeah, meta love and kindness, yo. Yeah, you'll get some good karma points for it. So thank you so much. Hope to see you in the next video. We'll be talking about the importance of meditation in the Recovery Dharma program. Ooh, meditation. This sounds fun.